hard to speak after this very, very inspiring talk. Hey, what did you do to me? Hello, everyone. My name is Ikram bin Said, and I am a Tunisian feminist from Tunisia. When the revolution happened, I created an organization called Voices of Women, Aswat Nisa in Arabic. That means Voices of Women. And the idea was to empower women to occupy the political spaces, but also to advocate for gender-sensitive public policy. Before I start my talk today, I really want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to Nala team and passionate activists for their remarkable 2-year anniversary. Their dedication and courage efforts have contributed to improving the lives of women and girls in our continent. And I want to express my sincere gratitude to my dear friend, Aya Shabi, the founder and president of Nala. As a fellow Tunisian feminist, I want to acknowledge your inspiring leadership and express my immense pride in your accomplishments. Please continue to guide us and to enlighten us with your amazing work. So today, as we gather to talk about justice, trust, and accountability, I feel compelled to address a pressing concern within my society in Tunisia, which is femicide. In 1976, the South African feminist activist and scholar Diana Russell redefined femicide as the killing of females by males because they are female. It is crucial to recognize that femicide is a tragic and a brutal manifestation of misogyny. Tunisia is expressing an alarming surge of this crime. Since January 2023, in 6 months, we had 15 cases. Those are the cases that were documented by the civil society because there is no official documentation from the government, unfortunately. Gunshot, burning, slaughter, strangulation, vehicle attack, stabbing. This is how women are dying today in my country. And those women, they met their untimely death solely because they are simply women. A haunting question often resounds within me as I learn every day the name of a new victim. And that question was, why do they hate us? Why do they hate us? And by they, I mean the men who are, of course, committing those crimes, but also the men who are committing all forms of gender-based violence. For too long, media and popular culture has portrayed femicide as the result of irrationality, love, passion, and desire. But that's not true. It is hate crime. And my question, why do they hate us? And I think they hate us because they can hate us. And there are two institutions that are really allowing them and enabling them to hate and kill us. And I will talk today about these two deeply patriarchal institutions. The number one is the state, and the second is the family. So let me explain. Throughout Tunisian history, we had state feminism. Most of our presidents, they really tried to push and to promote and protect women's rights. Of course, it was not perfect, but honestly, it is way better than what we are witnessing right now, the revoking of rights under these current governments. And you know, this current government is led by a woman. And this is our first head of government in our history ever. So this is really very unfortunate. But femicide, as the most extreme form of gender-based violence, represents the tragic end of a cycle of violence that has persisted without impunity. While this violence primarily occurs in private spaces, it is crucial to recognize that gender-based violence is inherently political, as it mirrors the continuity of state violence. Governments exist to protect their citizens. As stated by political scientist Anne-Marie Slaughter, and I quote here, "The oldest and simplest justification for government is as a protector, protecting citizens from violence." End of the quote. Unfortunately, the failure of our head of government to effectively deploy resources to implement the Law 58, which is the law against violence, has resulted in an alarming increase in reported cases of domestic violence, including, of course, cases of femicide. So many victims of femicide have sought help from the police, initiated divorce proceedings, and requested protection, only to be failed by state institutions. In addition to a culture of impunity and enabling environment of various forms of violence leading to feminicide persists. For instance, hate speech by our Tunisian president targeting undocumented Black migrants have given a rise to violent and xenophobic acts. Black migrants, especially women, find themselves in highly vulnerable situations, facing unemployment, homelessness, and physical violence. Furthermore, an institutional anti-gender discourse targeting the feminist movement and women's rights organizations, accusing them of being detached from the women's realities and for serving foreign agenda. Cyber violence campaigns and the weaponization of the private lives of women in public positions go largely unpunished. Ministry of Women, the head of government, and the Ministry of Interior remain silent. It is essential to acknowledge that violence does not occur in a political vacuum and tends to escalate under oppressive regime due to the absence of accountability. This is why we must politicize femicide and recognize that any assault on democracy constitutes an assault on women's rights and safety. Women's rights is inseparable from democracy, just as democracy cannot exist without upholding women's rights. And this is why we say that one of the cause of this hate is the state. And the second is family. Family, as we call it, the chief patriarchal institution. In most cultures, we usually glorify the notion of family. I really invite you, because I think it's very crucial to deconstruct and challenge this notion. The men who commit femicide did not emerge out of thin air. They are the product of a deeply patriarchal culture. It is imperative that we recognize femicide as more than just an isolated issue. It is a manifestation of gender inequality, societal norm that perpetrates violence against women. Ironically, our homes, which should be the safest spaces, often become the most brutal for women and children. In Tunisia, for instance, 72.5% of violence cases occur within the homes, with husbands accounting for 50% of the perpetrators. In 2011, we made the revolution. We marched in the street and we made the revolution. But it's very heartbreaking to say that we did not bring the revolution home. We still have many work to do within our private spaces. There is family unit is really when individuals learn and exercise violence before even they go to the public spaces. The American activist and writer Kate Miller noted that the family as a patriarchal institution imposes control and conformity where political and other authorities fall short. So to address femicide and combat violence against women effectively, we must confront the deeply ingrained norms and structure within our society that perpetrate gender inequality by challenging traditional notion of family and redefining power dynamics within relationships We can create society that value and respect the lives and rights of all individuals, irrespective of their gender, ethnicity, race, or sexual orientation. So Tunisia has really very, very progressive laws when it comes to women's rights, but we really have a problem when it comes to implementation. So I believe we really need to redefine first femicide. We need officially to collect the data so we can prevent. We need to train law enforcement and judge. And there are many things that we need to do on a community also level. And finally, sorry about my papers. I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done on a state level and also on a family level if we are really serious about the issue of trust and accountability and justice. And today also I am Nala because I am dedicating my life to interrogate and challenge, to obey and to defy system of powers that reinforce gender inequalities and all forms of inequalities. Thank you very much.